the key differences when it comes to HR between, say, Australia and China? We don't have any understanding what corporate, if that word exists, even, I mean, I'm pretty sure it exists, corporate HR in China like, or corporate culture in China like. Is it really different
I give
from
you
us?
two examples of differences at
Please.
the moment, because again, HR is very much influenced by the institutional framework.
Okay.
If you're looking at HR from a compliance point of view,
Yeah.
we have to abide by Australian anti-discrimination law,
Yes.
equal opportunity law, in order to design our organizational HR policy and practice. OHS is another thing. I think China had rapid developments into these areas. So they do have a labor laws in place back in 2010, in fact. And then in terms of how company actually quickly adapt and then develop their organizational policy and practices, that's still under the research area. China have a retirement plan there in place, like we have super fund.
Sure.
They do have differences in terms of retirement plan, and that's affecting millions of people. They have a times limit there. If you are working this time, you actually enjoy the full retirement wages after you retire. But the rest of people, they probably need to buy the insurance in order to fund their retirement. So that's a bit of differences in there. The second difference is, I think, China, because it's under the Communist Party rule, larger company, probably over 100 people, their senior positions need to be monitored by the Communist Party.
Monitored?
Yes. So, for example, they do have a party secretary sit on a senior executive team. And sometimes they probably are the major decision makers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Any
that's
company
that
over 100
appointments.
people.
Yeah, appointments of the appointments of the senior executive. It's actually very much ruled by the government.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's probably slightly different from
That's a
us.
big difference. How can you create a company
And the
if the government tells you who's going to lead it?
So, but that's just their
senior leader, like
senior
the
leader.
CEO, is decided by the government?
They have a called a party secretary. So if you're looking around the company over 100, even the private companies,
yeah, I'm talking about private company.
Yes, they have to have the party membership in that party committee in the company.
In the committee is different, but I thought you said the CEO is hired by the.
When I say CEO, you for example, managing director, they do have like deputy managing director. Sometimes managing director is appointed by the governments, and the deputy sometimes is deputy.
And so how can that be true and they can be competitive? It doesn't make sense. Something is missing in my mind.
Missing in your mind because I think China, although claim itself as a marketized economy, I think it's still very much based on the state planning, sort of.
But they're competitive, aren't they?
What do you mean competitive?
Their companies in their individual fields, they can produce products of a greater value than others. And
they're
good in many ways. I mean, look at the cars, for example, right now. Their cars is competing with Tesla, and they're sold everywhere because they're good and cheap, electric cars. Yes. So how can you run a company to be effective in competing on the global stage if the government appoints the leader? It doesn't make sense.
Why not? Because the leader appointed may be very competitive.
I would have to say, that I don't know anything about business if this makes sense. You cannot create a company that can be competing with anything and do anything good if the government tells you who the leader is. On the other hand, if you're saying maybe if there's a board and a committee, they have one out of 10 to be there as an observer to tell them they're doing something wrong, or that's cool, but not necessarily too much worried about
decision-making chair. Yeah, I can send you some.
So you're saying if the government has got 5 billion.
If you don't believe me,
I can't believe it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'll send you.
So I'm going to give you an example. In Australia, you're saying the Albanese government can say we're going to invest $100 billion into a company to produce cars, and we're going to make that compete with the Chinese cars. and we're going to appoint who's going to run it, and it's going to work.
Yeah, doesn't
doesn't
work
make
in
sense.
here. So
Doesn't
as
work
I earlier,
anywhere.
my presumption, as I say,
The determination.
determined is by the institutional framework. Whatever the HR, isn't it? We HR here operating under Australian institutional framework.
I understand.
Because
yeah.
you asked me
We're
the
influenced
differences. That's what I give you the differences.
Yeah, but we jumped into the leadership. You're saying the CEOs are hired by the government, and
Yes.
I'm going, how can China be even functioning? They are competing. They're selling better cars, creating better AI products. They're competing in more than 10,000 categories, and they are the preferred products. It's sold everywhere. That's why China, US, America, they're everywhere. How can that happen if it's hired by government representatives? That company would never be able to compete. It would be a failed company within a month if a government representative is making the commercial decisions, as opposed to keeping an eye on anything politically sensitive. They are two different things. I'm not denying the influence of governments in corporate, but I'm just saying when it comes to competition, it's about ingenuity, it's about ideas, it's about strategies, about the passion and the incentive of these leaders to want to compete and win. A government representative doesn't give a shit or know about that.
I think your mindset is very different from what Chinese government think. So I think your mindset, because we are all living in this democracy kind of system, we can't understand why do they do what they do and how effective they are.
The law of winning in business is the same.
Yeah. Then, mind you, I'm talking about appointed somebody by the party. It's not anybody. Is these somebody still need to be selected and still need to be firm and going through those party selection criteria.
So they might be good, you're saying?
For example, still good.
Well, clearly they're good because they're competing, they're winning.
Yeah, they're both winning.
So maybe that system works. Maybe we should do the same.
We should do the
They're
same.
beating
I don't
us.
know. I'm just telling you the facts. I'm not giving any value judgment, which one is better, which one is working on. We haven't got that research.
No.
I probably need to send you a paper.
They seem to be winning now at key elements.
And then, we're talking about
AI, technology, building submarines, building aircraft carriers. They've just launched their first or something. Cars, electric cars, competing with Tesla, producing them cheaper and better. I spoke with Melbourne with all these Uber drivers. Everybody is saying the Chinese government, the Chinese cars, can't remember the name of the car, has that funny, looks like Tesla
KN
from a difference.
KN.
It's got it's like a diamond.
Or Great Walls, yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Everybody's driving it. They said 38,000 brand new,
and
it's amazing. It works. It's reliable. I sat with them. I took so many drives in when I was in Melbourne. They're everywhere. And so they are competing, and maybe we should learn from their system. Maybe we need more interference from our governments. Maybe we have too much democracy. I don't know. I'm joking clearly, but it's interesting. It's interesting.
I'm just telling you the difference because you asked me. I give you and I haven't got to 3 yet, and you started to make a comments on this. The third is the role of the trade union. So we'll probably hate trade unions here. But
some people hate it,
business,
not everyone.
Yeah, business maybe. And the trade union membership since I came to Australia continue dwindling in here, right? But in China, almost like everybody need to join the trade unions, like memberships. Like
you have to.
It is part of because. The role of trade union is actually work closely with the manager in terms of decision making. I mean, if I can say the close model that they will have.
If the company is controlled by the government, why do you need the trade union?
It just seemed that all China councils of the trade union coming down to
the idea of the trade union is to provide this alternative in the sense.
More as a role of caring for employees.
Yes. So. Okay. So, right. So you're saying, that's amazing from the government to say that we're still encouraging the voice of the employee, although we control the company. According to you, you're saying they control every company under over 100 employees, but they're still saying we'll provide this other entity called the trade union that can advocate for the employee. against even us, the government, because we run the company, according to you. That's an interesting
not against,
balance.
but more collaborative with the management. So the
So why do they
closest I
need
could
it if
say
they're
is like
controlled by
worker
them?
representatives in German.
Why
But
do
at
they
least
need
a
it?
worker
If they control it?
representative, worker representative actually can negotiate like wages increases.
That's what
or
I mean. They're
etc.
negotiating with the
in
government.
China, no.
Oh,
Yeah, they just have putting in place.
so
there.
why do they have
so
it?
I
if they
actually did a
control
bit
the
of
companies?
study on that. What is the role of trade unions in China?
Yeah, what is it then? Why the government is spending all that money to continue to run this trade unions if they control them?
Yeah, it still play the roles of hearing the employees' voices and then caring about employee welfare. So they still do a bit of those roles. So if like, I believe the recent kind of like, how do you define the retirement funds and health fund? Maybe I haven't really looked into that. Maybe it's subject to the kind of voices up,
Was influenced by that, you're saying, shaped by that?
Yeah, could be.
Interesting.
So that would be the three areas I think that's the fundamental differences in terms of HR.